Hey everyone, and welcome back. So it's time to return to the war on comedy. Today we have yet another social justice warrior who presumes to tell us what comedy is and is not. Don't these people realize that humor is subjective? Don't they understand that politically controlled comedy is boring and pointless? Well, I guess not. So show me what you got, Special Snowflake. Enjoy.
Is political correctness ruining comedy?
Yes, it is.
Chances are, if you've spoken to an old white guy in the past few months, you've heard a phrase like this.
Political correctness is ruining comedy. What am I supposed to do when I point at something? Not laugh at it? Ridiculous.
What the fuck was that? What, white guys can't have opinions now?
So today let's talk about political correctness. What is it?
Well, political correctness is the confluence of thought control and fascism.
And is it slashing away at our freedom of speech like a top-billed star in a terrible Friday the 13th knockoff? We'd call it Saturday the 30th and it would take place in a European discotheque.
Oh, for fuck's sake, the cringe is strong with this one.
My life is just one horror after another.
I guess this is what political correctness gets you in terms of jokes. Great going there, you fucking idiot. Don't quit your day job.
Political correctness is the act of choosing your words to avoid offending people.
What's wrong with being offended? I'm offended by boy bands, for Christ's sake. Doesn't mean I want them banned. Why do you have an obsession about going through life without ever being offended? That's stupid.
As you know, or could probably assume, the English language has a storied history.
If you could stop doing that, we'd all be grateful.
For fuck's sake, you guys, you're just making me cringe here. So take your politically correct humor and shove it up your ass.
Of making up words to call people who aren't white guys.
I think that if you examine the facts, you'll find that a majority of pejoratives apply to white guys. Do I have a problem with that? Not really.
And for the people who those words were directed at, it really, really sucked to hear.
Oh my god, someone said something mean. Save me, save me. Ever heard of sticks and stones?
Political correctness became a derogatory term itself in the 1980s, when old school stand-up comedians could say whatever they want and were essentially treated like rock stars for it.
You say that like you want comedians to not be able to say whatever they want. I mean, come on, it's kind of hard to be funny if you have to think about politics all the time. Could work as a sleep aid though.
It was very in vogue to say racist, misogynistic, and, because it's the 80s, AIDS-phobic stuff.
Okay, I get that you didn't experience the 80s, but for fuck's sake, you think the only thing that comedians did was walk out on stage and say, kike, nigger, cunt, fuck, fag, fuck off, ass fucking, and good night.
And you'd get the laugh because you were, ooh, being naughty.
Yeah, you're trying to be funny again, aren't you? That's cute. Not.
My favorite example of this is Andrew Dice Clay, if only because I get to mention that he was the very first contestant fired on season 2 of Celebrity Apprentice.
He was hardly the pinnacle of stand-up in the 80s. Ever heard of Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, or George Carlin? Sure, they had some offensive jokes. I love those. But they made jokes about everything.
Leveraging political incorrectness for comedy is a lot like another popular 80s relic, cocaine.
Yeah, now kids are doing meth instead. That's much better.
Back then, everybody was doing it.
That's total bullshit. Don't talk about things you haven't experienced.
But nowadays, whipping that shit out at a party just seems kind of pathetic.
There's no need for kids to do cocaine. They get drugs from the doctors nowadays. Half of them are hopped up on Ritalin.
Using politically incorrect language is an intentionally alienating practice.
No, I don't.
That reminds the people hearing it that, at the end of the day, their humanity can be boiled down to a single, horrible epithet.
If their humanity can be broken by a comedian telling a joke that isn't even aimed at them, then I would say their humanity needs some work, wouldn't you?
And that really sucks, especially when it's such a preventable behavior.
Preventable behavior? Sounds like you're talking about dogs.
So we know what political correctness is, and we know when it became a slur itself. But the question remains, is it ruining comedy?
I think we can emphatically say yes. You yourself have proven this throughout this video.
What this argument really boils down to is your definition of free speech. Namely, that everyone has a right to it, even the people who don't agree with you.
Yes, and since these comedians are people you don't agree with, you should still let them speak.
Comedy specifically thrives on being able to creatively express an opinion in a surprising or thoughtful way.
Well, that's one way to do it, but that's certainly not the definition of comedy. You see, you can't really define comedy. It's not universal.
Making a joke completely falls under your right to free speech, but the audience reacting to that joke falls under their right to free speech.
Yeah, we all have free speech. Get to the fucking point.
And that doesn't mean heckling. I mean responding in a broader way, like writing a review online, or talking to you about it after the show, that kind of thing.
Or making a YouTube video about it, which I'm doing right now in response to your YouTube video. So if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen right now.
Only assholes heckle, kids. Don't do it. The more you know.
What? What the fuck was that? Jesus Christ, the cringe!
For example, let's say I'm doing a stand-up show and I'm doing a bit about pasta. I hate pasta. F your linguine. I don't want to eat it because to me it tastes like the Pillsbury Doughboy is rubberized flour down my throat.
Are you sure no one's gonna be offended by that? Think of all the Italians you've just disrespected. You horrible, horrible person.
That is me creatively expressing my very real opinion, which falls under my freedom of speech rights.
We've been over this.
Now, say you love linguine. You're Linguini's #1 fan, and let's face it, linguine has been the #2 noodle on everybody's list ever since that asshole spaghetti booked that gig in Lady and the Tramp.
Listen, I obviously don't have any problem with swear words, but if you're gonna fucking bleep them out all the time, then just don't put them in there.
You have the right to say to me, hey, just so you know, Linguini is kind of the underdog here. Remember Lady and the Tramp? When's the last time you saw Linguini being portrayed fairly in a movie? Why you gotta add to the Linguini hate?
Nice performance.
So that criticism is obviously negative, but that doesn't change my right to perform my pasta act.
Hey, moron! Fucking moron! We've been over this. Do you have a point?
I just have to perform it, knowing that some people are going to think that way about linguine every time I do it. But the important thing to note is nobody is trying to stop me from performing that act. They're just letting me know that it's a little bit offensive.
And what if you don't care if it's offensive or not? I certainly don't.
And what I do with that information when I receive it will completely depend on how my ego digests negative audience feedback.
Or whether you give a shit or not.
It can be hard for creative people, especially comedians, to hear negative feedback about something they worked very, very hard on.
Well, then they certainly shouldn't be on YouTube, should they?
Remember how I said in the 80s stand-ups were treated like rock stars? Yeah, nobody said no to them. This is a new thing for a lot of those old school guys.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Remember your favorite example, Andrew Dice Clay? Well, things didn't go so well for him, did they? He was banned from performing left, right, and center.
And instead of digesting criticism in the way that a comedian is supposed to, because remember, your job is to make the audience laugh, they're kicking up a tantrum like a toddler in the Disney store who just found out that that singing Elsa doll that they've been coveting for months is completely sold out. And they just can't let it go! Let it go!
Are you fucking serious? This is what you call funny? For fuck's sake, you guys! I need to go get my Shane pillow now. Are you done with the cringe fest?
Please don't sue me, Disney. So no, political correctness is not ruining comedy. It's actually making it a hell of a lot smarter.
I hope you realize that comedy doesn't have to be smart, it just has to be funny.
When you don't have exhausted old tropes and gimmicky, shocking punchlines to fall back on, you have to think of more creative ways to execute your primary directive as a comedian, which is to make the audience laugh.
Yes, that is the primary function of a comedian. And if people want to laugh at offensive jokes, that's their business. Who the hell are you to tell them otherwise?
And as an added bonus, there could be more people to hear your material, because you're not chasing groups away with exclusionary comedy about, for example, violence against women. Celebrity apprentice loser Andrew Dice Clay. Oh gosh.
Yeah, you guys aren't chasing away audiences, you're chasing away comedians. And also, is there like any chance you could not repeat every point so many goddamn times?
And just to say it one more time to be completely crystal clear, there is nothing wrong with you performing your dusty old crap from 1986. Nobody is suppressing your right to do that.
Not yet, anyway.
But there's a good chance that people are going to tell you that it is not funny anymore.
It's not funny. It's not funny. Even if you make the littlest joke, it's not really that funny. It's not funny. It's not funny.
Yeah, I can see you social justice warriors looking out for us, making sure the world is a funny place. In a funny way. You fucking morons.
Because that's their opinion and they're allowed to have it as much as you're allowed to get up on stage and say whatever dumb shit you're trying to say.
Yes, and it's your right to say all this bullshit, so what's your point?
Just remember that it is the comedian's job to try and make the audience laugh, and if you fail to deliver enough, after a while, there's not going to be anyone in the audience anymore.
Thank you, Professor. I'm so glad you're here to make these moronically obvious statements.
What do you guys think? Is political correctness ruining comedy? Let me know in the comments below.
Oh, not more cringe? Oh, fuck. Let's see how long those comments last, shall we?
My work here is done.
Anyway, that concludes our show for tonight, so thanks for watching and see you next time.